Hi, this is Doug. It is good to have you back with me in the workshop of Wood Spun Round. This is my place, this is my mess, and I am glad to have you with me as we do this little turning. Turn this for Steve Carvel's, that's SK Crafts. It's his hashtag challenge week. This particular one is for Cauldron week. This was done the first week of October, and circumstances have just not allowed me to get it on the air until now. But I'm glad that you're here. We're going to turn this cauldron out of a piece of, I believe this is a piece of pear. Piece of that tree that was given to me. You saw me there roughing it down with the spindle roughing gouge, just getting the bark off and getting it round. And here I'm trimming the end, and I'm going to set a tenon on the end so that we can turn it around and get it in the tenon. Have this top end free. This is the Easy Wood Tools Easy Rougher, the CI1. I do have the Lexan screen there. That is to keep the chips from flying in my face quite so badly. That was a little addition that Craig came up with right after he started making those tools. Gone to the 1/2-inch bowl gouge. Rounding the bottom, getting the bottom ready to go before I flip it around. This is going to be a short little cauldron. I'm not going to use all of this wood. I'm going to part off about half, a third to a half of this off the top end, and just use this lower section for the cauldron itself. Don't need all of it. I knew that before I started, but it's quite often easier to go ahead and rough things down, get things ready before you actually cut it off. Making a little bit of a guess there where the top is going to be, and went just a little above that. That's still way too much wood. I don't need all that. I'm not hossing the wood at all. Not forcing the cut in any way. I'm just taking nice cuts. You know, I'm not in a hurry to do this, and so there's some nice shavings coming off right there. And again, I'm still not putting a lot of pressure on the tool or the wood. Just kind of letting the tool do the work. Now, I'm making a huge mistake right there. Some of you may have caught it, some of you may not have. And I don't know when I figured it out. I may have been doing the hollowing of this cauldron before I figured it out. But I'm making a big mistake there. Notice what it is? I've mentioned it in several videos in the past. You may be saying to yourself, well, there he is doing that. He said not to do that. You're right. I've noticed here lately I've made this mistake a little more often than I should be, and so I'm just telling you now, I do notice it at some point. I'll point it out when I notice it. When I notice now that I noticed it while I was turning. Still using the 1/2-inch bowl gouge. Looks like I switched over to the Doug Thompson. Or is that? I'm not sure which tool that is. The shavings are peeling off. Not having too much trouble here at all. Okay. Finally, I turned it around, got it in the chuck. I'm parting it off. Made a parting cut part way with my full-size parting tool. Now I'm using the little thin parting tool made out of a kitchen knife. There it went. I do put that in my stash of pieces that I can use later on. Ow. At virtually every stage of the turning process, I'm very frequently adjusting the tool rest, getting it so that it's in the best place for me at that time. A minute ago, you saw me turn the lathe off, move the tool rest. So many of us, we tend not to, when we're just turning by ourselves, we tend not to turn the lathe off. But it really is a best practice to turn that lathe off before you move the tool rest, and then before you turn the lathe back on, to spin that piece, make sure it's not hitting, even when it's round. You never know when we've got a piece that's gone a little warped or something is out of line and it's going to hit again. So got it adjusted. I'm moved around to the inside now, just cleaning out that upper section, that lip. Still using the bowl gouge. Getting the shape that I want in that upper lip. I'm not so sure why I thought that. It just became kind of important to me that I get it right off the very bat. See, there's some beautiful long shavings coming out. I did, when I turned it around, I didn't show it, but I did sharpen this tool. This is the Sorby 1/2-inch bowl gouge. You can tell by the handle, that Sorby shape that they put on every handle that they use, regardless of the size of it. But this tool still works really well. It's not a specialty steel of any kind. It's a good grade high-speed steel. The high-speed steel that comes out of England, particularly Sheffield area, seems to be very, very good steel, and it takes a good sharp edge and it holds it a long time. Not quite as long as the Doug Thompson steel. That steel has been cryogenically treated so that it does hold an edge an extra long time, but these Sorbys still work awfully well. Just starting to get a little bit of depth here into this cauldron. Sure is fun to get those long shavings coming out from inside of a piece like that. Move the camera here so you have a little bit better angle. And I'm still using my bowl gouge just to get that inside, get the bulk of that inside done. I'm going to go to the Easy Wood tools to do the back hollowing. You notice, I've got that upper rim narrows down before it opens back up into the cauldron body. And so I want those walls to be even all the way down. And so the bowl gouges, it would probably do it, but it's just very difficult to get back underneath that rim to back hollow behind the thin part of that rim. So we're going to switch tools here. There's one of those Easy Wood tools. That's my mini finisher. It does a good job on these small pieces of hollowing like this. The carbide cutters do anyway. They are scrapers. I'm not going to deny that. But they do a great job. That carbide is designed to do this and to do it well. And so, I'm happy to use it. one of the things you can do if you're not getting, if you are using the carbides and you need a smoother edge than what you're getting, or smoother surface, one of the things you can do is to turn that up on edge, 45-ish, so that you're right on that corner, and it will cut a whole lot smoother. The other thing you can do is use a negative rake. They make these cutters with a negative rake on them, and so you put those on your handle, and lo and behold, you're doing the same thing basically, and it cuts very, very smooth. They talk about using the negative rake with the resins and epoxies. It works really well with wood as well. If you're getting a lot of tear out with the flat cutters, you can turn them up on edge, or you can get that negative rake, and it should smooth those cuts right out. Now you see there, what I've done is I'm turning in reverse, and I'm actually cutting on the far side, the side closest to you. That does a couple of things. One, it keeps me from having to reach across the lathe and you know, cutting back toward myself, but it also allows me to see a little bit easier what I'm doing. Problem is, with these carbides, you make so many shavings so fast that you can't see very long, and so you have to stop like I did there and blow those shavings out. You got to do it fairly often, which is okay. Yeah, you ought to stop often and check your work anyway. But here I'm working my way down, getting those sides even from just under that lip all the way down to the bottom. Just a quick little blow with the air hose, and all those chips come flying out. Works really well. Here I'm checking the depth, making sure I'm deep enough. And apparently I'm not. I need to go a little bit deeper. Not only deeper, but that bottom curve is still just a touch thick. You can tell by my right hand there at the end of the tool handle, I'm not holding on particularly hard. You know, I'm not gripping it for dear life. I am holding it down with my left hand pretty tightly. But again, got to stop, blow the shavings out. Don't feel like you got to do that all at one time. You know, don't think you have to hollow the entire piece before you blow your shavings out. Keep them blown out. You know, with the lathe turned off, stick your fingers in there, see how deep it is, see how thin your walls are. Whether you use calipers or use your fingers, it doesn't matter. After doing this for a couple of years, you'll feel like you can trust your fingers as much as any thickness gauge, and you pretty much can. It won't tell you the exact thickness, but it will tell you if you're even. It'll tell you if you're getting awfully thin in one spot and still thick in other spots. That's what I'm doing there. I'm just kind of feeling with my fingers. How even are we? We're getting pretty close. Still turning in reverse, still working on the far side. There you can see some of that dust flying out as I feel the thickness. Blow the dust out again. Let's check it real good. What do we need to do? Are we there? Do we need to smooth? Where are we? What do we need to do? Those are the things that are going through my head. I've changed tools there. This is the original finisher, the CI0. I think now it's a CI3 is the designation, I believe. But this is the full size finisher with the large, it's about a 1/2 inch cutter that's on there. Still in reverse, but all I'm using this for, because it is a larger diameter, I'm using it to smooth that inside wall before I try to do any sanding. Just feeling, are those ridges that I was after, are they gone? Because smooth out, there's a little ridge on this upper rim area that I'm trying to get rid of. At least it looks like it. In the video here, it looks like there's a ridge there. Yep, there it went. I just saw it go away. We are going to sand. We're going to start at 100. We're going to go all the way to 320. This piece is going to get painted, so I want a nice smooth finish on it. It's to be a cauldron. Cauldrons are typically cast iron, and so black is the color of choice here. Don't need a perfectly sanded finish, but I want it somewhat smooth. And so we'll start at 100 here, slow the lathe down to about 500 RPMs. We're going to sand it up. Spend just a little bit of time. I don't spend a whole lot of time. All right, we've got it all sanded up. We're turning it around. We're going to get rid of the tenon that's on here. I've used the scrap piece that we took off earlier, and actually turned it to a jam chuck for this piece. Really a friction chuck, I guess. Jam chuck, it would fit exactly. That's not what this is. This is simply a tapered piece of wood that the cauldron goes up against. Goes up against it nicely, so I have all the way, there's pressure all the way around on the inside of that rim. But that then allows me to use the Phil Anderson method to remove this chuck. I'm just cutting it down, running about 500-600 here. Don't need to go super fast, but all I'm doing is very lightly cutting this tenon, making it go down, go away as far as I care to make it. I'm going to use the outer edge of that tenon as a foot, and then make it concave on the inside of that ridge. You can see there I'm cutting on the inside, cutting the actual tenon. Still getting nice little cuts there. My tool is sharp. I may be using my detail gouge here. I'm not sure. Yes, is that what that is? I can't see my handle, so I'm not sure. I think that's what it is. If not, that's what I'm getting right now. Yep, this is my detail gouge here. So the other was my 1/2" Doug Thompson bowl gouge. This is my 3/8 spindle detail gouge. It's a Doug Thompson tool as well. But it's got a sharper point that allows me to get down in a little tighter, smoother, or a little tighter area, so I can do a good job of cutting this tenon away. Now, pretty soon here I'll be turning the lathe down and putting some pressure on that tenon. I'll have the bevel against the bottom of the cauldron, and the edge or the flute pointing back toward my tailstock, pointing the pressure will be against the cauldron, but I'll be pointing straight in to that tenon, what little bit's left. I'll do that with my right hand, and my left hand will be on the stop button when that time comes. I'm just finishing up, getting everything the way I want it before I part that tenon off. Now that I'm doing this voiceover, I'm not positive, but typically what I do after before I finish up is not only sand, but I'll use the Axe abrasive paste. Axe abrasive paste does a great job. I sand to 320 typically, and then I use axe. And that takes me up close to 1,000 or so grit, and it leaves just a wonderful, smooth, clean, clear surface that has its own shine. But then I'll use the axe polishing restoring paste, which is a carnauba wax mixture. Has double the carnauba that it had a year or so ago, and so it's the new formulation is really nice. If you haven't tried it yet, you may want to try, or maybe you've been using it and you need to replenish your stock or get a little surplus going. This is a good time to get some. You can use a discount code. I can save you 15% off. Use the discount code DOUG15. So you go onto the Axe Wood Paste website. That's axewoodpaste.com. That's the only place you can get it. So go there, order it, and as you're checking out, you have the option or have the availability to enter the discount code DOUG15, and that'll save you 15% on your axe. I don't think you'll be sorry if you try it. I have really liked using it. Tom is a great guy, and so I just you know, I can't encourage you enough to give the axe products a try. Just sanding up this bottom and the outside a little bit more, getting it where I want it, going through the grits. It's a pretty small little area right there where between the foot and the base, trying to get it sanded up. The dust collector, you see that black tube there, the dust collector is on. That's why you don't see much in the way of sanding dust clouds or anything. It's collecting most of that pretty quickly as we go in. Now here we are. Now that I've sanded that, I'm just finishing off that little tenon. We're gonna work it on down, get it as small as I dare do it before I slow the speed down even more. There we go, turning it down, getting ready to pop that little nub off of there. And so one hand with the tool, left hand was on the stop button. We're spraying a little sanding sealer on here just so it doesn't absorb the first couple coats of paint. It works pretty well. The painting works pretty well without sanding sealer, but adding sanding sealer just gives you a head start. Even getting the bottom of it coated. Spray some on the inside, all of the outside, and then just let it sit for about 20 minutes or so, 20-30 minutes. We're back now with some black spray paint. This is just inexpensive Cauldron spray paint. Going to paint it black. Thought I had some flat black paint, but I was unable to locate it. So, but this gloss is fine. It's not that critical. This was a challenge piece just to do something a little bit different. I've done this shape a time or two, but not intentionally as a cauldron. Typically, I'm going more for that spittoon look. This one was intentionally a cauldron, more of a rolled top edge. I think I put 3 coats of spray paint on there and then I let it go at that. Piece of coat hanger, wire coat hanger for the handle. Drilled some very small, shallow holes for that to go in, and there you have the cauldron. Thanks for being with me. This is Doug at Wood Spun Round. Until we meet again, hope you're able to spin them round.